Singa abaana bwe basaze ko baddeko omwana w'omusirikale omu oba singa ko baddeko omwana wa general omusajja oyo singa akyali mulamu singa mukyamwina mu kaduukulu singa ko baddeko omwana w'omukulu omu nga yasaliddwa singa omusajja oyo gwe muyitira omulalu singa akyali mu kaduukulu lwaki waliwo impunity mu bantu abamu bannansi ekibaatedde n'okwetama eggwanga lyabwe n'okunyiiga ennyo obusungu abantu bwe bayina buva ku impunity lwaki abamu balabibwanga bannansi abalala tebalabibwanga bannansi why singa omusajja oyo kubaana twabo abaana beyasaze ko baddeko omwana wa jeno omubwati singa omusajja akyali mu kaduukulu ono okwanga tana tusiba mu kkooti mbakyanoonyereza oyo munoonyerezaako ki
Salim Saleh and Muhoozi illegally running operations as unofficial president and son or whatever the case might be. I told you guys last week that possibly Salim Saleh will write or they will somehow make Muhoozi Kainerugaba, the CDF, the son of Museveni, the vice president. Because naturally, when a president is absent, the vice president is designated or is in the works to be president or acting in the meantime until the actual president is back to office. Same thing in where Paul Biya comes from, the president who has been on for over 40, maybe 50 years, Paul Biya. I don't know if he has seen what's happening to Uganda or other places, but apparently there was talk about his life or his end life and things. And they decided that they should choose a vice president so that if something happens to him, that person takes over. So strategically, he has chosen his son. The same script is what they're trying to bring to Uganda to have documentation that indeed Muhoozi Kainerugaba will become the vice president, such that if his father does not come out of coma or whatever he's having right now, that the current vice president, Alupo, is shoved off to the side, which they will do without any concern, because they really don't care how anybody fares. Shove her to the side and instill Muhoozi somewhat by force, despite still being CDF, instill Muhoozi so that when May comes along, Museveni will not even be mentioned, okay? And somehow, whether the coup d'etat happens or not, they will slip in Muhoozi Kainerugaba as the official president of Uganda. Remember, the steps that should be taken according to the Constitution have not been in place, because naturally, Alupo, who's the current vice president of Uganda, should be in line. In fact, as we speak right now, she should be acting president of Uganda. But because Alupo is not an official rundees of the quality that they like, because they know now that they're hanging on by a hair, okay? They know they've lost Uganda. In fact, many NRM leaders like the Amama Mbabazis, the Ndugus, all of those guys know for a fact and have confirmed to Museveni that they have lost control of the country. So what they want to do is forcefully instill Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Museveni will not make it out of this. If anybody knows a stroke patient, coupled with dementia, coupled with old age and a failing system, because Museveni suffers from several conditions. He suffers from HIV. He suffers from diabetes. He suffers from low blood pressure. Now, coupled with a stroke at this age, it is going to be extremely, extremely difficult for him to pull through just to be alive as a human being, let alone exist as a functional president. And now that they know that, they're attempting every effort to try and make sure to put Muhoozi in that place before it's too late. Okay? So Janet Museveni is not here anymore. The next thing I want to talk about is the Pastor Kasirivu, who owns Gaba, the school where the children were murdered. You know? Yes, Chiria, you're right about that. Museveni has to go. The owner of that school is a pastor. And for a long time, they've wanted the land where that school stands. Now, the other reason why they attacked that school, Maranatha High School, is because there is a relationship between one of the bloggers or the YouTubers called Asimwe Wile, okay, of Bible and politics. We're on the same wavelength. We're very close. And we share a lot of our communications. So anyways, because of the association with Asimwe Wile, they are going to ask or meet with Pastor Kasirivu to try and see if they can gather information about how come he's doing really, really well, including the school. What are his resources? Because the suspicion is that anybody who is doing well is getting funded from abroad. Or how come it's him and not a Rwandese person? So they want to understand his funding sources. They want to hear from his alternatives. How come he's doing what he does and has all these investments? Okay. Eventually tie him into some sort of crime, likely money laundering. I did share a video of a Sudanese man who claims and says for sure that he has been a money laundering partner of Museveni. And he swears and he says if anybody lacks that information or needs it, they should try to get to him because he has all of that itineraries and everything to share. So they will likely, because money laundering is an easy crime that they can tie onto anyone. Remember the father from Masaka who was a Deodat, who was arrested and tortured by Muhoozi. Even he was forcefully charged with a crime of money laundering, even though eventually he was released. But he went through severe torture and Muhoozi bragged about what he did to him. So they want to lie and tie him with his connection with Asimwe Wile to try to have him convince Asimwe or give him a condition of that if you get this man to stop speaking online about this family, about politics, then we will set you free or set your school or give it back to you. But they wanted to lure him by killing those children to bring him closer, bring him to a negotiating table so that they can try to arm twist him to accept certain conditions that they want. So it is not about a crime that was committed by a criminal, wanting, I don't know what benefit is there to kill children. But this crime was tied and absolutely orchestrated by Muhoozi, Salim Saleh, and the criminal gang to try to bring this man to his knees. And also quiet the population, depopulate, and bring upon fear amongst Ugandans. As I wrote in my post a few days ago, the real reason for killing those children was not because the killer wanted anything. No, not at all. It does not make any sense that this Okello came from wherever he came from. They're saying he's from Nuoya or whatever, Northern Uganda district. That he did come all the way to Gaba, to Maranatha High School, of all schools, to come and perform something like this. He must have been promised heaven on earth to perform an atrocity like this. Now, I also want to mention that being that this man, apparently they found out that he's from the United States or has a history of the U.S., in fact, lived in Virginia, I can see the rope long enough being tied to His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. It is likely that they're going to string it along all the way to there. But let's wait and see. Okay? So Pastor Kasidivu has convened a meeting with all of his members or his workers to try to let them know, to inform them about a possibility of closing his activities or his works. And unfortunately, he had also engaged other Rwandese people already who were very close in his business activities. In fact, I understand he has a church in Rwanda, which, I don't know how come that is. But these people have a way of hooking you up and stringing you along to wherever they want you to be. The other also thing that I wanted to discuss is, we see a lot of these Christian interreligious council leaders, this, that, and that. Now, because they also know a lot of secrets. For example, when they went to see Mrs. Barbara Kyagulanyi at her home, prior to the assault by Muhoozi and the SFC who was sent to the home, the Interreligious Council was sent to His Excellency's home to go and meet with her and try to strike a deal where Mrs. Barbara could speak about where her husband is or try to get him to call and also bug the home, obviously. Now, because the Interreligious Council knows a lot of information, when they call them to missions like these, they spill a few beans for them, just for their knowledge and operation, and then they let them go and do what they're sent to do. Because remember, 8 billion of Uganda's budget goes to the Interreligious Council, unquestioned. That is besides what is collected from the church every day here and there. 8 billion is designated in the budget to go to the Interreligious Council of Uganda. That means they will never be on the side of the people. Now, it has come a time where the boat that the government is in on the ocean or lake or whatever water body it is, whoever is on that boat, okay, and it's on life support, and there's water coming into the boat, and they must empty some people. They must lighten the weight of the boat. They're beginning to throw people under the boat, into the water. For example, Interreligious Council has become a thorn in the foot of the Kainerugabas, of the Muhoozis, of the Salim Salehs, of the regime. Much as it's going through a cleansing or a change, now it's time for the Interreligious Council people or members to be removed by the Muhoozis. Who knew that time would come? It is their time. They are figuring out how to do it to eliminate those older religious people in the council who have been there for so many years, okay? So many years. They have a lot of secrets. They know what the government has done. They know what they've done. And this time it doesn't matter if you're Rwandese or not, okay? This is to the extent that if you are a friend of Muhoozi and you know something, this is the time for him to choose himself and not you. However close you are to these people, when the time comes, you will be the first to go. So Interreligious Council, your packages are coming. It is time for you to get eliminated, and this is how they're going to do it. Apparently, most churches are located on wetlands because you were favorites for a long time. When a church was built on a wetland, as long as they performed for Museveni, they went ahead. They got all the permits. In fact, no one checked on them. So because all your churches are on wetlands, that is going to be the first line of attack. Eventually, you will also take the poison. Eventually, you will also land into some accidents. Eventually, you will lose your lives because you know so much. This would be a good time for some of you to leave the country. But again, you pray to your gods, hopefully, and your prayers are heard. This is the time to test that. How faithful you've been and how much of the righteous activities you've been performing. So Interreligious Council, it is time for you also to be thrown off that boat. In fact, in that meeting where Salim Saleh, Muhoozi, Kaihura were, they also said that they have tried to burn a church called Victory Church. They've tried to light it up on fire, but it didn't burn. The whole thing didn't burn. And so they're now going to look into other means. They said that the wood that the church is built by, I don't know where that church is. I've never been to Victory Church. Any of you who knows where Victory Church, maybe you can help me understand. So they're saying that they've tried to burn the churches while people are there. But the wood that they've used did not catch fire enough to burn down. Look at that. Okay? So it's time for the rest of you who think you are still in good books with these people. Because when they decide, it doesn't matter what you do or who you are. If you are not Janet Museveni, Salim Saleh, Muhoozi, their children, anybody else who works for them, it doesn't matter. Your time is upon them. When you have to go is upon them. It's not about what you live for or what God decides for you. They decide when it's time for you to go. So, Interreligious Council, it is time to reap what you have sowed. So they're worried about the swearing-in ceremony, obviously, because they know that Museveni is in the worst shape possible. Now, they're discussing trying to... The coup d'etat is still well in the works. They still plan on having it. They are still working toward it. In fact, the reason why they've stopped certain vehicles like KCC vehicles, the ones that are cleaning the streets recently, they are going to ban them from doing that because they want to make sure that there is no opportunity for Ugandans to cause a genuine coup d'etat or try to, you know, that incident where if they can cause jam throughout the Kampala city, they will have changed the government, literally. If all Ugandans with big trucks or vehicles just come and park, take the key and leave, there is no way the Museveni's government will last another few hours. It'll be the end. And because that has been communicated a lot and talked about a lot, and people think about it, the people who have had vehicles have said, hey, I work for this company, I ferry oil or I ferry cement, I have this big sumo truck. You know, if you guys need an operation like this, just let me know. So there is offers like that on the table. Okay, my colleagues have discussed this. So because of that being out there, they're worried about the fact that this could actually take place. They have ordered all the media to stop debating on the swearing-in ceremonies that should be coming up in May. Okay, Parliament has been requested not to discuss any of that either, about anything concerning the leader of opposition or leadership or change of leadership or anything like that, because they don't know if the swearing in will happen. They are not sure Museveni will live to actually swear in. The other point I have is last week, senior prisons officers had a function, a decorating function. I think they do that every so often where people are honored for their service, for, you know, certain work they've done and this, that, and the other. Apparently that happened, and many of the attendees of this event actually were poisoned. The reason why they do things... I'm sorry, the sun is in my face. I don't know what to do with it. Anyway, we'll just continue. So the reason why they did that, last week at Wulira, there was a party. They did that because, as I said, the boat is sinking. They're eliminating people who they think or feel that know too much about what the government has done. All of the atrocious activities that were performed at the prisons, the arrests, the torture, people being taken back and forth, the Eddie Mutwes who were, first of all, after abduction, taken into Muhoozi Kainerugaba's dungeon in his basement, tortured severely, and then brought to the prisons to formally be imprisoned. So those types of events have caused them to also try to eliminate, which officially those people who are senior police officers who work for the prisons in Wulira who attended that function should go and check themselves because they were severely poisoned and they will have their internal organs failing in a few days or so. Okay? That boat will not take you people working for the Musevenis. It's not for you. So the sooner you realize it, the better it is for you. Okay? They're still coordinating fires and fire outbreaks in garages. For example, in Chibanda, Kumbao, I don't know where that is. They're also still debating one prominent, killing a prominent official. I couldn't tell you who it is, because we don't have the name of that person, but that is something that they're planning to do as well. So, like I said, the boat is full and it's sinking.
Yes, nkulamusiza ko gwe najjo sinzidde okwera nga otugoberera mukutu gwa nkyukakyuka gwa muntu wa bulijjo UG 24 live mukutu gwaffe kakati nno gwe twaddako oluvannyuma lw'okwera nga abasajja guli omukutu baaguwaabira kati gwatannaba kwera nga otugoberera keekadde osubscribinge ng'ogamba nti wali wankyukakyuka ng'oyagala Uganda ogobere buli mawulire ge tugenda okwera nga tutandika okuteekayo n'olunaku olwaleero twatandise dde okwera mukwano gwange nga tuwawula ebyuma kati tugoberere togenda kwera nga wejjusa nga enkola yaffe bwezzenga ebeera kakati ne ku mukutu guno bwe tugenda okwera nga tutandika okukikwasaganya kugambye nti omukutu guli baagutwala twetaaga abantu 50 bokka tutandike n'okwera nga tetukola live kale no subscribinga okoonene kade olwo buli ggulire onaalyota buliro.